Thank you very much, dear friends, dear Global Compact participants. I will try to be brief, but before I start my review of where we stand, where I think our journey has brought us, I have the special pleasure to give a special welcome and honor to Mr. Chen Chua, who is here with us, and he is the founding champion of the Global Compact in China. And we all owe him so much gratitude and thanks because he is leading a very big delegation here to the summit. He is the founding supporter of the Global Compact in China, also supporting now Caring for Climate, the business leadership statement. And I know it has been very challenging for you to travel here, and we are greatly honored by your presence. Please, ladies and gentlemen, join me briefly to thank especially Chen Chua for being with us. Thank you very much for being here. Ladies and gentlemen, my job is now in a few minutes to give you an update of where I think we stand, because we can only reflect on what is happening on a very large scale. So I will share with you in a few minutes where I believe the journey has led us since the year 2000, when the initiative was formally launched at United Nations headquarters in New York. The initiative is now 7 years young. The journey has been one of growth and change, but the mission and vision has remained the same. The idea that universal principles can create both market and social value is today arguably even more important than it was 7 years ago. I also believe that some of the basic assumptions that were made then are today as valid. The idea of working together, business, governments, labor, civil society. Second, the idea of leadership, asking CEOs directly to embrace the principles, to make them first part of their internal organizational change, the compact as a compass for organizational change and global integration, and second, the compact as a platform for taking actions, for partnerships, for collaboration. In all of these areas, there is now an abundance of evidence that these assumptions indeed are not only valid, but also very important. But then, of course, there is the most fundamental of all assumptions, and that is that engagement and responsibility pays off. That engagement both has commercial and societal value. And this is the big assumption we want to test here and we want to establish very firmly. And we will hear more on that shortly. I believe this is a major leap forward. This is an important move for all of us. So where do we stand overall? How much progress has been made and where are the gaps? In terms of numbers, we have reason to be somewhat proud because from 50 to 4,000 has been an enormous journey. More of half of the participants are from emerging markets. And growth is indeed strongest in emerging markets, and we're very proud of this. Nearly 80 local country networks are now up and running, helping participants to engage locally for partnerships, for learning, and for peer review, I hope very soon. But there has also been an important qualitative change. Initially, many CEOs came and joined because it felt to be the right thing, and maybe because it was free. Today, we know from many observations that the compact is taken much more seriously, that indeed the principles are understood to give a compass for globalization, for ethical benchmarking, for collaborative solution finding. And we are very confident that this shift, which increasingly involves CEOs when dealing with these issues, will continue to evolve in this direction. Also, the most important change we introduced last year is indeed to make it a requirement to publicly disclose performance changes on an annual basis, the so-called communication on progress. This was a bold move, and we hesitated for 3 years before introducing it. Thanks to our Global Compact Board, multi-stakeholder board, and thanks to the great support of those who had an interest in protecting the brand and building quality, we introduced this measure. Unfortunately, we had to delist 500 participants last year, and it looks like we will have to delist another 500 this year. But I believe you all share the view that a commitment needs to be honored and engagement needs to be made public, and we hope that through promoting transparency and public disclosure, we are making a significant contribution. When it comes to the issue areas that the Global Compact advocates, human rights, decent workplace, the environment, good governance, and partnerships for development, I think there has been tremendous progress in many areas. Just consider that when the Compact was launched 7 years ago, only a handful of corporations considered these issues to be also their issues. Then most business people would tell us human rights, for example, is the exclusive business of governments and we shouldn't deal with it. Today, several thousand corporations are coming to grips with these issues, looking for tools, looking for practical solution finding. I think this is a truly historic shift, and I think we have some reason to be proud of this. But progress is uneven. In some issue areas, we are lagging behind, notably when it comes to anti-corruption and human rights, especially when it comes to implementation. I think there is also a gap, and our survey in the annual review confirms this, the gap between headquarter policies and performance at the level of subsidiaries and supply chain. And it is our hope that this summit will help to close this gap, so that indeed headquarter policies are applied everywhere. We also hope that you will make sure that as an outcome of this summit, you will commit your subsidiaries to support local networks. By doing so, we will immediately go to scale on a very, very large level. The other very important development I cannot hold back to share with you before Anthony Link speaks to us is that financial markets are catching up fast. The launch of Principles for Responsible Investment, a joint production with UNEP Financial Initiative, has done within 1 year what took us nearly 7 years. Just yesterday, they concluded their first annual meeting, and I think we will hear more about the very important outcomes of these deliberations. The fact that financial markets are now recognizing that the issues the Global Compact advocates can have an impact on financial performance is, of course, a promising, scalable incentive which is of essential importance for the aspirations of the Compact. Ladies and gentlemen, the Compact is now truly global. The business case for engagement is understood. Good performance is not a function of geography, nor is it a function of size. Good performance is a function of commitment and implementation, and ultimately is correlated to the degree to which corporations are integrated in the global economy. And this, I believe, is truly good news for the United Nations and for all those who believe that openness, trade, investment can and indeed often is a bridge for cooperation, for wealth creation, and for helping us all to learn how to live together. This way, globalization, economic interdependence is a race to the top, competition for confidence, for support and legitimacy, and it will help us to accelerate the very values and norms that we all cherish so much. I wish you and us all together a